Hello, my name is Mohammad Hassan. I am from BS Accounting and Finance, Bahria University, Section 1C. My group members are Ayman Imran, Uzair Malik, and Nasar Hussain. And the book which was given to us is Study Smart, Study Less. And I will be covering chapter 1 and 2 of this book. First of all, what is a mind map? A mind map is an effective means to take notes and brainstorm easy topics. A mind map involves writing down a central theme and thinking of new and related ideas which radiate out the central idea. Now we'll start chapter 1. The name of the chapter is Maniacs, Brainiacs, Geeks, and Slackers. This chapter is associated by the following topics. The first chapter is all about identifying your study persona. This means that how are you studying? What is your study personality? Which type of student are you? And this chapter is associated by the following mind map paragraphs. Unperfective perfectionist. It is a type of student who has high expectations, who stays up all night, who is a hard worker, who wishes to do something different, but he always gets unexpected grades because he doesn't study smart. He is always a hard worker. And another type of student is max slacker. A max slacker is basically a student who don't care about his studies, who likes doing nothing, who has bad grades, who is unworthy in studies. But there are some negative aspects of it. He always has a fear of being unsuccessful in life because he has another ideas like doing businesses and being on his own. Another type of student is brain trainer. He is a memorable student, he is an intelligent student, he has a balanced life, a relaxed life because he always does his work on time. These students are a type of students who are the most effective and efficient because they always study smart and study less. He is the most successful type of person in life because he has his plans of studying and also pursuing his dreams at the same time. Another type of student is the deadline daredevil. He is a student who believes in luck. He has a risky pressure and he always has an adrenaline to study at the end time. He always studies one day before an exam and he always believes in his luck. But it is a type of habit. If you will be able to pass your exam by studying one night before, then you will do it over and over again. Now, summarizing this whole chapter. This chapter is all about how to identify your student personality. It takes sweat, sacrifices, strengths, diligence, and unavoidable realities. Now we'll jump to chapter 2, which is called Unlocking Your Brainiacs. This chapter is all about the quality of your brain. How do you unlock your brain skills? First paragraph is the long and short of it. It contains input, long-term memories, short-term memories, working memories, and outputs. Then we'll discuss the short-term memory. Short-term memory is a combination of input plus output. The inputs of your brain is short learning process and the output is what you describe. Then we'll be discussing the long-term memory. Long-term memory is a combination of input plus output plus review. As I discussed the inputs and outputs, long-term memory also contains long learning processes and it is also a permanent memory. Then we'll be discussing how to identify your learning strengths. You can identify learning strengths by learning something new, by reading, and by playing mind games and by new concepts. You develop new concepts through your personality and your environment. Then we will be covering the characteristics of learning. The characteristics of learning is auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. The auditory means quiet learners. The visuals is diagrams, charts, pictures, and the kinesthetic is hands-on learning, self-learning, and critical learning. It is basically based on paragraphs. And then we'll be discussing what are your brain strengths. Your brain strengths are How do you discover a new thing? How do you read? How do you understand a specific paragraph? How strong your brain memory is, your mental condition, and your learning process. Your brain is basically a warehouse. So now summarizing this chapter. This chapter is all about how do you identify yourself, how can you unlock your brain, how can you identify your skills. There are many ways to identify your skills which is given in this chapter. And this chapter also describes your brain. It has long-term memory, short-term memory, and many more. Your brain is a combination of millions and millions of ideas. It's up to you how you can pursue them. Okay, so I'd like to end it here. Thank you.
Myself, I'm Imran, and I'm going to be explaining the mind of chapter number 3, which is Grasping the Book that in burn out and bewildered student. And the first topic of my chapter is small changes leads to big result. In this, first you have to set up the mind before studying, and you should think positive. Decide on a time and place. Your time should be relevant for studying. Sit in the proper study room so you can study properly. You should study in your study room, not in your bedroom. Keep necessary materials at your study spot. You should have some proper stationery things while going for studying, like pencils and other things. And must have a simple word so you done your work on time. Eliminate as many distractions as possible. In this heading, put your mobile phones and other gadgets away from you during the study time. Dress for the occasion. In this, your dress should be a normal dress, not your night dress. Night dress creates you sleepy while studying. Your goals must be long term, realistic, and attainable. It must be that kind when we work on it, it work with the limited it work when we work on it, it will be work with the limited resources. Done everything with heart and dedication. It's all about timing. You should be time manager. You have to make the fullest advantage of the available time and utilize it to the most. Take a break. After all of your effort, you should take a break. If you are studying for like 1 hour, you should take a short break to refresh your mind, like going with friends, family, eating your favorite food, visiting your favorite area, etc. Pace yourself. Engage yourself in different kind of activities like by doing challenging assignments and so on. Make schedule of your studies and always write the date, time, and date on your assignment. You should engage yourself in different kinds of activities. After all of this, you you get some Z. In this, you should have proper sleep before you do your assignment. When you feel tired while doing assignment and other projects, sleep for some time so that you achieve your aim goal. This is all about in my whole chapter.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sayyid Nasser Hussain, and today my topic to discuss is Chapter 4, How to Shrink Wrap Your Brain, of book Study Smart, Study Less by Annie Cross. In this topic, we will discuss some study tricks you can follow to learn much easier and in a joyful manner. In this chapter, we will discuss in four subtopics as color, movement, sound, and mnemonics. So first of all, let's start with color. A little bit of color is just what the doctor ordered to spice up your study life and help improve your learning efficiency. So how to use color in learning? It's simple. Use rainbow notes while learning, as rainbow notes is an art form using color to denote new information as it is simple. Just use some color paper or chits and write down the information you want to memorize. And then just you have to read those while doing your other stuff, and surely it will help you memorize much easier than before. Secondly, follow the rules of entertaining underlining. Uses colored pencil or markers to represent your response. Create your own key and try to consistent from book to book and subject to subject so you are able to develop your own language of note, taking that you can easily reference for years. Using tinted tabs also helps you learn much easily, as there is nothing more frustrating than knowing my notes are in here somewhere but not being able to find them. To save yourself from such a pain, devise a system where color represents certain category and then mark the appropriate color as a check or scribble in the top right corner of your notes. For example, in your lab book, mark blue in corner for pages that include the section, red in corner for label where you studied chemical reaction. Using doodling diagram also helps in learning much easily as it is a simple idea of taking some color markers and blank sheet and just organize what you have to learn as when studying physics you can draw Newton, his falling apple and velocity as in the example picture, which will make your learning much more interesting and easy. And lastly, using constructive construction paper also makes learning easy as it's just like rainbow notes but in bigger size as having more information and also used in the same way of rainbow notes as paste them on walls and area you see the most and just read when you get time and it will make your learning much easy. The second trick discussed is movement while studying, and movement in sense as using flashcards as a very easy method of learning. You just have to take some cards and write down some information and take your quiz. Using paper flaps as they are cousins to flashcards as to make one fold the paper in half and then just write questions on one side and answers on the other, and then take your quiz. Simple. Next comes the memory fans as a complicated paper flap is also called origami as folding paper in different directions and then writing questions on one flap and answer on other and then taking your quiz also makes your learning much easier. Using the game Twisted Twister while learning also helps learning much easy as it is a famous game. You just have to take two different color papers and write questions on one color and answer on the other and place them on the floor. Now just play the game as guessing answers and choosing the correct one out. And lastly, becoming a mad actor. If is a scene in piece of literature you don't understand, or if you are trying to remember a historic decision, act it out. Pretend you are Galileo defending himself in a court, as it's fun and makes your learning easy. Sound also helps and make learning efficient and easy. As when learning any foreign language, it is difficult for a person to read their language. So there comes the sound as well. Listening to that language helps person to learn that language much easily. Involving sound in your study and play a simple game as collecting bunch of questions, reading those in a recorder and then answering those questions in the recorder and then listening to that recording regularly will lead to memorize those answers for your exam. And lastly comes the Taco Troubadour. Sure way to memorize as breaking particularly long piece into smaller chunks so your brain can digest it, help you memorize much easily and effectively. And lastly comes the mnemonics. A mnemonic is a lyrical device that helps the brain remember something. As to borrow some memorable tune and rewrite the lyrics to fit the subject you are learning, or use learned letters as similar letters, or rhyme liner also helps you learn easily and effectively and joyfully. And this was all in my chapter to discuss.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Uzair Umar and I will be explaining chapter 6, which is caution, potential landmine ahead. The first topic of this chapter is overcoming learning disabilities. You might have observed this that no matter how smart we are or how brilliantly we work, sometimes there are obstacles that get in our way and keep us from reaching our potential and goal. This obstacle is basically a landmine which restricts us from succeeding in our mission. The second topic of the chapter, named What Do Whoopi Goldberg, Albert Einstein, and Tom Cruise Have in Common, illustrates that when we hear the word learning disability, we tend to think of people who are severely disabled. But the reality is the opposite because experts believe that people must have average or higher intelligence to be diagnosed with a learning disability. The personalities mentioned in this topic all tend to have creativity or and higher or at least average intelligence, but still had some sort of learning disability. The third topic of this chapter is I am confused. If you can be smart and have a learning disability, what is a learning disability? This topic describes a learning disability, which is basically having a unique way that the brain manages the input or output process. Some common learning disabilities are aphasia, dyscalculia, dysgraphia, dysphasia, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and etc. The fourth topic is you might have a learning disability. If this topic tells us some very common and easily recognizable symptoms of having a learning disability, which are difficult in spelling, poor handwriting, difficulty in retaining focus, reading slowly or inaccurately, difficulty remembering something read or heard, low self-esteem or feeling frustrated, working slowly. The fifth topic is save yourself now or pay later, diagnosing and learning disability as fast as possible. This topic describes the importance of diagnosing and learning disability on priority basis because it is more expensive to try to get through high school and college with an undiagnosed learning disability than it is to diagnose it and alter your learning style. In order to identify your learning disability, consulting an expert is the best possible way. The sixth topic is please read the lowest line on the chart. This topic tells us that some people having vision problem might confuse it with an learning disability. The solution to this is getting your vision checked and wearing glasses. The last topic of this chapter is the great news. The topic illustrates that if a person having a learning disability get diagnosed as fast as possible, then he may see his grades improve and school won't be as stressful for him. This was all from my side. Thank you.